Welcome to 2026. The world you wake up to today is not the same as it was just a few years ago. The world feels different. The music, the conversations, even the way we talk about the planet and our paychecks. There's a new rhythm in the air, a sense of urgency and hope that's impossible to ignore. Who's behind this new energy? Gen Z. They're not just participating, they're leading the charge, shaping trends, and rewriting the rules. For years, people saw them as kids glued to their phones, making silly dances and viral memes. But that was only a glimpse of what they were capable of. That was just the surface. Underneath, Gen Z was preparing to change everything. Quietly learning, connecting, and building skills the world hadn't seen before. Every generation gets underestimated, until they grow up and take charge. Gen Z is no exception, but their moment has arrived. Gen Z isn't waiting for permission. They've kicked down the door and started rearranging the world, challenging old systems and demanding better. This is the first generation that's always been online. Dial-up? That's ancient history to them. They grew up with instant access to information and global conversations. Their friendships are as real in comment sections as in classrooms. They process information fast, multitask like pros, and adapt to change at lightning speed. They see the world as one big community, where borders matter less and collaboration matters more. Now they're your colleagues, your leaders, your artists, and your activists. They're stepping up in every field, from politics to art to social change. They're launching businesses from bedrooms and movements from smartphones. Innovation is their second language, and they're fluent. Gen Z is not just the future. They're the present, rewriting how we connect, work, and care for each other and the planet. If you thought TikTok dances were impressive, just wait for what's next. Their creativity and drive are only getting started. The show is just getting started, and you're in the front row. Get ready to see what Gen Z does next. They're only warming up. What sets Gen Z apart? Diversity, tech fluency, and strong values. Gen Z is the most diverse generation ever. They grew up surrounded by different cultures and perspectives. Diversity isn't a lesson, it's their reality. They celebrate differences and want to experience everything the world offers. Technology isn't just a tool, it's their native language. Their phones are their maps, libraries, and megaphones. They can organize, learn, and share at lightning speed. But above all, Gen Z is values-driven. They want meaningful work and ethical brands. Authenticity matters. They see through anything fake. They demand transparency and hold everyone accountable. They're pragmatic idealists. They see problems and ask, how do we fix this? They're not waiting for permission. They're building their own platforms and writing new rules, and they're doing it together. Give Gen Z a global megaphone, and you'll hear voices that refuse to be silenced. This generation is not content to stand on the sidelines. They're stepping up, speaking out, and demanding to be heard. When Gen Z rallies, they do it with purpose and passion, using their collective energy to push for real change in their communities and beyond. Climate activism exploded when young leaders like Greta Thunberg made the crisis personal and urgent, inspiring millions to join the fight for our planet's future. Gen Z turned social media into a powerful tool for organizing, protesting, and holding those in power accountable, connecting instantly, mobilizing rapidly, and spreading awareness like never before. Viral hashtags became rallying cries for justice, uniting people across continents and turning online conversations into real-world action. They document, share, and make sure no one can look away, capturing moments that spark global conversations and inspire others to join in. Their leaders aren't politicians, they're teens and young adults who act, who organize, and who lead by example, showing what's possible when youth take charge. Malala Yousafzai, the Parkland students. These are young people turning pain into purpose, transforming personal tragedy into movements that demand justice and change. Their youth is their strength, fueling clarity, courage, and a relentless drive to challenge the status quo and imagine a better world. Gen Z movements are interconnected. Climate, racial justice, LGBTQ+ rights, they support each other, recognizing that every struggle is part of a larger fight for equality. They understand intersectionality, knowing that all struggles are linked, and that real progress means lifting everyone up together. They share strategies, amplify voices, and build coalitions that cross borders, backgrounds, and beliefs, making their movement stronger and more inclusive. They're not just building movements, They're building a new model for change, one that's collaborative, creative, and driven by hope. And they're doing it on a global scale, proving that when Gen Z speaks, the world listens, and change follows. For Gen Z, technology isn't learned, it's lived. They're fluent in the language of the internet and social media. They can build communities and share ideas with thousands in hours. Social media is their town square, university, and launchpad. Knowledge is democratized. Anyone can learn anything, anywhere. Collaboration is borderless. Musicians, entrepreneurs, and creators connect worldwide. Geography is no longer a barrier to innovation. But tech has downsides: misinformation, anxiety, and pressure to always be on. Gen Z is leading open conversations about mental health and digital well-being. They're learning to use tech for good while protecting themselves. They're not just users, they're thoughtful critics and innovators. They're shaping how technology shapes us, and they're setting the rules for the digital age. Gen Z is rewriting the rules of work. The old dream of a lifelong corporate job? Not for them. They saw the risks of loyalty to companies and chose flexibility. The gig economy isn't a side hustle, it's a way of life. They value work-life balance and reject burnout culture. Remote work is their norm. They want to be judged by results, not hours. They turn passions into professions, building careers on YouTube, Twitch, and beyond. The creator economy is their playground. They don't wait for opportunities, they create them. Entrepreneurship is in their DNA. They solve problems and launch businesses. They're adaptable, resourceful, and unafraid to fail. For Gen Z, the best career is one you build yourself. It's about flexibility, meaning, and staying true to who you are. It's not all easy. Gen Z faces real challenges. They're inheriting climate change and feel the anxiety of a planet in crisis. Economic hurdles are everywhere. Student debt, high living costs, unstable jobs. Many juggle multiple gigs just to get by. Mental health is a major concern. Constant comparison, cyberbullying, and information overload take a toll. But Gen Z is open about these struggles, reducing stigma and demanding better care. Their activism is fueled by anxiety about the climate and frustration with the economy. They turn challenges into action, creating support networks and pushing for change. They're not defined by despair, but by resilience. They use adversity as motivation to innovate and fight for a better world. They're not passive, they're problem solvers. Every challenge is fuel for their drive. Gen Z is determined to build a future worth living in. What's next? Gen Z is in the driver's seat, steering us into a future that's more open, more connected, and more daring than ever before. Their influence is only growing, in work, politics, and culture. Every day, their voices are shaping conversations and decisions that matter. Their values, authenticity, sustainability, inclusivity, are becoming the new standard. These aren't just buzzwords, they're the foundation of a new era. They're not just tearing down old systems, they're building new ones, brick by brick, idea by idea, with courage and creativity. New communities, new business models, new coalitions, new culture. They're inventing ways to work, live, and connect that didn't exist before. Digital savvy meets a deep desire for connection and meaning. Technology is their tool, but empathy is their superpower. They're the architects of the 21st century, drawing bold blueprints and daring to imagine what's possible. The challenges are real, but so is their hope. Earned through action, not wishful thinking. They know change is hard, but they show up anyway. Gen Z's story is one of empowerment. Handed a world of problems and a smartphone, they got to work, turning obstacles into opportunities. They prove youth isn't a barrier to impact. In fact, it's their greatest asset, fueling fresh ideas and fearless action. The future isn't something that happens to us. It's something we create, together, step by step, choice by choice. Right now, Gen Z is holding the pen. The next chapter is theirs to write, and they're not afraid to dream big. And they're writing a story of hope, change, and a better tomorrow for everyone. One where no one is left behind.